I care not for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it. Abraham Lincoln. And yes, that's how I started my video off this morning. And I followed that up with a 30-year-old statistic from Gary Knowles' book, The Vegetarian Handbook, about how many animals we eat in a 70-year lifetime. And the numbers that were back then came to maybe over 2,000 animals. Did a quick search today and I found an article written in USA in 2015, and based on the vegetable calculator they came up with I think it was 7,000. They had 11 cows, 27 pigs, 4,500 chickens, up from 1,097 before, 80 turkeys, 30 lambs, and then 4,500 fish. So that's a little over 7,000 animals that we consume in our lifetime. They didn't specify 70 years like Gary Knowles did. I read another article that was interesting where they took into account a few other things that no one else was considering. For example, the fish meal that we feed to these animals. We're feeding ground up fish to chicken and cows. We're feeding animals to some animals aren't supposed to be eating other animals. Which explains why they're so sick. But the problem with fish, especially fish meal and factory farm fish, is that fish contain 9 million times the concentration of toxins as the water they swim in. Well, if it's a farm-raised fish, it's not exposed to those toxins, but then it's fed all that fish meal. And the problem with fish is the bigger the fish, the more little fish they eat, so the more concentration of toxins they have inside of them. So when you factor those numbers in, they're huge. This guy pushed the pencil to it and came up with two numbers, a range from 371 to 582 in 1 year. Punch that out times 70 years, we're looking at almost 26,000, almost 41,000 animals according to his calculations. Now a big part of those numbers, again there's two ranges, were from the fish meal and also what they call a bycatch. So when they go after the tuna, for example, they're killing dolphins and turtles. So there are a lot of deaths that way, and when we look at those two numbers, the ranges was like 200 to 400 when you add those two together. So out of 572 animals that we're killing, 400 of them, over 400 of them were coming from the fish we're feeding to the animals, and then the bycatch. That's on the high end. On the low end, it's about 200. So 200 out of that 371 and 400 out of that 582 are from those two categories. Now they also threw in another number that changed all the numbers around, and that's when you started looking at shrimp. And the numbers were very high in that category. In fact, in a 70-year period of time, we would have eaten 10,000 shrimp. So those numbers kind of skew things a lot. So if we're eating 861 pounds of fish, for example, if those were all shrimp, that'd be a lot of animals that we kill. And so when you back out all those other numbers and you multiply everything times 70, according to this one guy, based on those original numbers, we had 1,750 plus 861. I was really surprised to see an 861 number. So it's 2,611 animals according to this guy. And then you add to that the fish meal and the bycatch. No matter how you look at it, that's a lot of animals. Now earlier I was kind of just kicking these ideas in my head and was thinking out loud, and I was thinking, well, wait a second, every time we eat a burger, it's a different cow, we're killing all these other cows, so we're co-conspirators against killing this animal. And then I was on the way out to the bike ride today, while I was out coming out here today, or tonight I should say, I was thinking, well, what about if we lived in a village and we had 1,000 people and 10 times a year, every 5 months, and then we'd fast 5 months, we'd have a celebration once a month, where we're living in the forest. We had all this fruit and vegetables to eat, and that's what we had all the time. Except we had these festivals. So 10 times a year, we would feast, and we got 1,000 people, and it would take about 100 animals to feed all those. We'd group up in groups of 10, and every 10 people would go out and they'd get one animal, and that would be part of their feast. So in this case, in 10 years, you would have, these 1,000 people would have killed 1,000 animals. Or those 10 people in 10 years would have killed, again, 10 cows, so a cow apiece, or an animal apiece, whatever you're looking at it. And that doesn't seem like very many, but keep in mind, these people are only eating 10 meals a year that deal with animals. Whereas here in America, we're eating about 1,000 of these meals a year. So there's a big difference right there. Anyway, no matter how you look at it, this is needless suffering. And I'm doing this video tonight, not so much to update what I did earlier, but to finish a story I didn't get around to earlier. And I didn't get around to it because I sort of had an epiphany where I realized, well, wait a second, I can make up for the animals I killed. If I killed this many, if I can get other people not to kill animals, then I can save as many as I killed. In fact, I've overbalanced that. I may come back to that. But what I wanted to go over real quick was back to the Abraham Lincoln. That's why I started off this video with his quote. Because good old Abe, he had a pet pig when he was 6 years old. Got really attached to this pig. They went and did everything together. He was his companion. He taught it tricks. They would play games. They'd go out in the forest and go hunt for food and, you know, acorns and stuff. And he even played hide and go seek with this pig. And he would talk about how I can see this little pig's face looking around the corner of their house to see if he's going to come and get me. And you know, pigs are such smart animals. They're a lot more than just the smartest barn animal. I remember seeing a show several decades ago, and it was comparing the pigs and the dolphins, and they're saying they both trace back to the same lineage, that the pig came on land, the dolphin went out in the water, or whatever. You make of that what you want. But that's what we're talking about here, a very intelligent animal. And animals are, God, they're so sweet. I can't believe what we're doing to this planet, to the animals that we're suffering. And I'm going to come back to how I finished my video this morning. Yeah, let's say you're 20 years old. Let's say you're responsible for killing 1,000 animals a year. So by the time you're 20, you've killed 20,000 animals. Okay, you've got that debt you got to pay back. Well, what if you can go out and find someone who's 60 and is going to live the next 20 years and not be a vegetarian? You just saved 20,000 animals. Well, now let's say, what if we have to save 10 for every animal we killed? Well, now if you're 20 years old and you've killed 20,000 animals, you need to go out and save 200,000 animals. So you can find 5 people who are 40 years old, they're going to live to be 80, and they all have 40 years each, so there's 200,000. So that's not a bad way to look at it. If you finally woke up and realized that you're doing something really wrong by killing the animal, and you want to give something back to the other animals, what you can do is you can help encourage other people to not kill our friends. We shouldn't be eating our friends. We shouldn't be eating anything that has a face and that can cry. And of course, when you hear Abe Lincoln tell the story about hearing his pig squeal off in the distance, you know, it just broke his heart. He's just a little 6-year-old boy. And again, the pigs are such smart animals. We wouldn't think twice in most countries of killing our pets. And yet that's what we've done growing up for a long time. That's how families were raised. They would raise livestock, and at a certain time they would finally kill that animal. Anyway, it's a sad thing we do. But we could change that. And if you want to save animals' lives, you have to realize how important it is to save the humans first. So the best way, remember, to get these clowns to stop eating the animals is to get them to stop eating the cooked food. Now why? Doesn't that sound like it'd be harder? No, it's not, because you get a whole lot more when you stop cooking your food. It's a huge difference. When you quit eating animals, your life goes up a little level. When you quit cooking your food, man, your life goes way up here. When it goes up there, whew, you know it, you're in for a treat.